Hey, let's get down to brass tacks. That's my character who says brass tacks for no reason. Right off the bat, I haven't seen Jack Baker, I think, since his wedding when I was a groomsman. We've been friends in comedy for a long, long, long time. We still talk. We haven't seen each other in person in years. Jack came to my house to record this episode. We ended up talking for 2.5 hours. And this is split into multiple episodes. I'm not putting out a 2.5 hour long podcast. That's wild. So enjoy, half an hour increments of this long but very great interview. And just us hanging out. This is a very natural, just us hanging out episode. Enjoy.
We're podcasting.
Again.
Reunited. That would have been the time to drop that. Do you have it?
All right, we're here with Jack Baker, Bake Man himself. He's coming in hot.
Well, that was DJ Rebel Rod.
That was like one of the presets. Was this.
It's not the worst.
Pretty bad. It does feel like drive time radio.
But it's like one of those drive time radio stations if you're in like Peoria and it's like, okay, we know that this was really taped out of someone in Chicago who's pretending to be in Peoria.
Oh, how about those farm fields?
The Peoria, their big thing going on right now is their minor league hockey team is in the playoffs and their name is the Rivermen. I did a show in Peoria yesterday, and my big opener was, what was the Water Boys not available?
Hey, welcome to Casual Yelling, a casual conversation podcast with 85% less yelling. I can't even say that anymore. I'm Matt Elfring. Today I'm here with friend Jack Baker, comedian and friend.
Not in that order, necessarily.
No, who knows what order it's in at this point.
And it's so great to be here, Matt. Thank you for having me. I am excited to do some yelling with you.
Casual yelling.
Okay.
And it's 85% less.
Okay, I don't really know what that means. Does
Neither
that just
do
mean
I.
like talking in all caps?
It's like half caps.
Okay.
I don't know, like, and it came
So
up...
title case?
Title, yes.
Talking in title case.
Italics?
So you have to say the start of every word loudly.
Hey, when I came up with the name for the show, it's because Substack got like, I don't know, pro-white nationalist. And I'm like, I got to leave Substack.
Yeah.
And I was in Hawaii. And I'm like, what do I do with a new show? And I'm just like, Casual Yelling's not taken. That was it.
Okay.
Like,
that's good.
Yeah.
That's the kind of epiphany that you could only get in Hawaii. So you wrote that trip off as a business expense then,
yes.
right? But as you should.
That's what I did.
Yeah. Good. This is not tax advice.
This is tax advice. Hey, all right. We're here with tax advice with Jack Baker. Jackie B, what do you got?
Well, if you're going to take a trip, always brainstorming. Brainstorming it makes it a business expense. If you're thinking about business while you're traveling, that makes it a business expense.
All right, we're back at the top of the hour. It's 54 degrees, sunny and raining.
You were supposed to cut to sports, Matt.
Oh boy, the Rivermen in the hockey playoffs down in Peoria.
They just lost 3-2 to the Columbia Chaos. They're going to be back in Peoria for Game 3 tomorrow night.
Make sure you get tickets on sale at, I don't know, hockey.com.
And then be sure to come back next Saturday when it's the Monster Truck Rally.
Check out all your favorites, Slam Driver, Big Wheels, and Guy in a monster truck.
There'll be a special appearance by Riverman mascot.
The Riverman. Peoria, we're out of ideas.
I didn't even know they had a river.
Does Peoria have a river?
Apparently.
What did you look at it?
I guess we drove past it. Really, the funniest thing that happened in that show yesterday was the opening act, TJ Remick, who's a very funny guy. He was making fun of the fact that when you look out we were in this weird like event space, and when you look out the window, you were like expecting to see a view, and you just see like this plain white building. And so TJ
Ooh.
makes fun of this building. And we go outside and we come to realize that this is the Peoria Holocaust Memorial.
God.
And so TJ opened the show by making fun of this and then immediately, without realizing, going into a joke about how he looks like Hitler if Hitler had actually gone to art school.
Wow, really just setting the audience up.
So it was a great show. It was a great show.
Jack Baker is a comedian, if you haven't figured it out yet.
You said that at the beginning.
Did I really say that at the beginning?
You said comedian and friend.
And friend. But we couldn't decide what order.
Yeah. We'll find out. That's the point of this episode.
There's no video because we're recording in person. This is the second time it's been done.
Ooh.
Matt Drufke was the first.
Yeah, you have to imagine what we look like.
I was about to do your bit.
Please do. I would love to hear your version of my bit.
I look like if Weezer and...
No, it's simpler than that. I look like a Weezer song came to life.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say a Weezer song and an accountant came to life.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's pretty accurate.
We met in, I'd say like 2011.
You remember the first time we met?
No, I don't.
It's one of two things. Did you do the comedy Memorial Day contest?
That sounds stupid. No, I didn't do it.
Okay, then it must have been Comedy Under the Tap. It would have been like the third time maybe that I did stand-up. We did Comedy Under the Tap with Charlie Stone.
Oh, Charlie Stone, who moved to Las Vegas to be a comedian, then I never heard from him again.
Yeah. And I can't remember who else was on that show, but that would have been the first time we ever met.
It was probably Drufke and like...
the usual suspects.
The usual crowd of folks.
But it was probably like 2010 or 2011.
Yeah. And that was a bar in Oswego, Illinois. And we performed under the bar next to like
hence the name.
Yeah. It was next to like the storage closet, I remember.
Yeah, and you would like hear the like the furnace or the air conditioning come on. It was good stuff. It was a fun show a Tuesday in Oswego. It was more fun than any show on a Tuesday in Oswego has like a right to be. Like, it shouldn't have been good, but it was amazing at times.
At times, yeah. I mean, it should have been sad.
Hey, guys, come on up to Oswego. We're in the basement. Laugh.
How many times do we make jokes about people getting murdered down there?
Probably like 3 or 4 every show.
Yeah,
and it probably worked every time.
Yeah, every comedian would go up and be like, oh, I thought I was going to get murdered down here. And then it's just... I thought that was the laugh button.
Now the clap worked. It was such a good joke that it just went straight to applause break.
Just a standing ovation every week from the same 10 people in Oswego.
Yeah, the regulars.
Jack, there was a very important moment in your life, just as much important in mine, where you became my intern.
It all started there. That's when things really took off for me career-wise.
I have no idea why that started.
It was because you and Lewis were doing Barely Watchable, the show. That was at the time you were filming in the green screen in your garage.
Because we bought a green screen and decided to do a show.
I think, and it was, I can't remember why I became the intern, but it was just like a recurring bit where you guys would make fun of me and like make me do things.
I think you helped to set up the green screen.
Yeah, I think I actually helped you set up the green screen. And then you would just like make me film commercials and stuff at the end. And we had a bunch of like other podcasts that came around at the same time.
Jack Baker's Gardening Podcast.
That was the main one. And then Barely Promotable.
Which is you in front of space.
It was just a podcast about promoting other podcasts.
We did one thing for that, I believe.
We did. We filmed just like a little preview. I think we were using these to promote Barely Watchable.
Which no one watched.
No. But it was fun. And then that turned into...
the best podcast that I think we ever did, Versus the Net.
Well, and before that, it was Matt and Lewis versus the internet. And then starting in episode 3, featuring Jack Baker.
And then episode 4, Versus the Net.
That's when it really it all changed. That was a big day, getting promoted from intern to co-host.
to then part of the real show.
Yeah.
That was a show where we just kind of talked about internet culture. And like the idea was actually really good. Like we were talking about Bitcoin before.
We could say we were ahead of our time.
We were.
We were a podcast in 2013, so we were ahead of our time.
I've been doing this shit since 2005. So when we record, like the first podcast I was on, we recorded in a radio studio.
Wow.
Out in, I think Warrenville or something.
Hey, that's where I grew up.
Oh, maybe you drove by while we were recording.
Yes, I am sure that I did.
You probably did. It was called Ben Nation. Which is when you name a show after yourself and you're not famous, it's it's a choice.
Yeah. Ben Nation. That's pretty bad.
And he wasn't famous. He's a very nice guy, but like he wasn't. It was all part of the punk rock scene.
Okay.
But it was still like
Nation seems a little arrogant to start with.
It does.
When you don't have any listener base yet.
Like Ben 1 acre. Like
Ben 1 city block. You know, you got to start small and then you can grow into it.
Ben Nation. Ben cul-de-sac. Then you move into
Ben Township.
Ben Township. Ben City after that, maybe?
Yeah, you know. Well, is a city bigger than a township? I don't think so. I think a township is made up of multiple cities.
No, a township is like you're unincorporated, but not a city yet. Because I'm from a township, St. Charles Township, which turned into Campton Hills, a small city or a large town. I don't know.
Yeah.
When do you become a city from a large town?
I don't know. What is the difference with a village?
Oof. It takes a village.
This is riveting stuff.
We just got to fill in the blanks. No, so we did Verse the Net for 3 years.
A lot of episodes. Or sods, as we called them. Because we didn't have time to say epa.
No, epa's an extra couple syllables.
It was, do you remember, what was the guy's name? Our big fan who like who started calling them sods. Because we didn't come up with it.
No.
It was a fan who started doing it. And that was like the first time I'd ever had a fan on something. And so that was really fun.
That was, because I remember we did
Julian. That was his name.
Yes.
Shout out Julian.
Hey, Julian, you're probably not listening.
If he is, I hope that you didn't turn into like the red pill MAGA guy that I assume you probably did turn into.
Like an incel, like red pill.
Yeah, like he's got strong opinions still about the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial.
He was really going hard on Twitter during that.
I believe it. Gamergate for sure.
Comicsgate after that.
Yeah.
Any place, Julian, if you are listening, this is hypothetical.
We love you.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. It depends if you're problematic or not. Are you a sex pest at this point?
We hope not.
I hope not. Yeah, we had a fan. We had
a few.
Yeah, we did. And people were excited to listen to a show about It was a really good idea for a show, which I believe Lewis came up with. Lewis Ryan, who is... rest in peace. We said earlier he's probably taking a nap.
Hopefully.
I think he's alive. I think
so too.
I texted him on his birthday.
Yeah.
He never replied.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, he moved away.
That's okay.
Yeah. I mean,
what's important is that the time we shared together and all the great episodes that we made.
We did. You and I got very, very high one week when Lewis couldn't be there and discussed hentai anime. And I believe watched it as well.
I don't remember that, but that's probably because we got really high.
I think it was episode 67 or 69. It was one of those two.
It would have been better if it was. I hope it wasn't episode 69, because that's like too on the nose. It would have been better if it was like episode 68.
God, I want to check now. Okay, I'm going to check.
There is nowhere to listen to Verse the Net anymore.
I have every episode. Yeah. Like it's gone from app. Like
we should just re-upload them and pretend that it's new content.
Lewis and I had a long talk. I think late 2022.
Yeah.
I was telling him like, hey, I want to get those the fake podcasts from Barely Watchable back up.
Yeah.
It's Jack Baker's gardening podcast, Matt Elfring's gardening podcast. Andrew Lee's gardening podcast.
Well, it was Jack Baker's gardening podcast with host Andrew Lee.
Yes, that's right.
Because I got fired.
And it was him sitting on a porch.
Yeah.
And like he's playing a banjo.
Yeah.
He's like, today we're talking about hoeing. And that's it. He's someone I don't talk to as much. I don't know. It gets weird. You get older and you just stop.
Yeah,
talking
I
to
mean,
everybody.
but like we also don't talk nearly as much. I mean, we would talk every Thursday when we would do the podcast.
We should talk more, but
Yeah, we should.
I mean, I had a kid, so
Yeah, and I am a pretty busy comedian these days.
yeah,
so.
you do real things. Wait a minute, did iHeartRadio actually have the episodes up?
Can we listen?
Come on, I want to add. I have to wait to see if my old podcast is available by watching a basketball ad.
And how much of a bummer that we have to watch an ad to see if our podcast that we made is available for an ad that we're not getting paid for.
No, not at all. No, but Lewis didn't want to be a part of the internet anymore, and so he scrubbed everything we did. Which, in some cases, like God, what was that TV show that we were pitched to Kickstarter?
Tech Yeah Bro.
Tech Yeah Bro. Like, which is a funny idea, but like half of it had to have been cut because in the editing process of it, I'm like, oh, a lot of this is kind of problematic. Like,
yeah, it was not. I'm glad that a lot of that didn't get out there.
Yeah.
But we've learned and we've grown and we've changed since then.
Well, you have to.
Yeah.
Like, if you remember the first year in comedy, like, I think every comedian is like, time to offend the audience. I'm going to say every bad word.
I mean, my first big joke was an NIU shooting joke.
Ooh.
And now I have a tasteful NIU shooting joke.
What would you guess episode 69 of Verse the Net is? It's kind of fitting for the episode.
Rule 34?
Online,
or was that episode 34?
That was 34.
Yeah.
Online dating.
That was a live one. We did it Cairo.
Oh,
right?
No one showed up for that. I think we had 10 people.
Yeah, it was really fun though because we had women submitted like messages that they got on online dating apps.
Yes.
And it was some of the most fucked up stuff you've ever heard in your entire life.
Like that's an eye-opening moment as a guy. You're like, "Oh, this is a regular thing for women. It's not just one." It's like every woman there was like, "Oh yeah, I got that too."
Yeah.
Some random guy sent me a naked picture.
It was still a fun episode though.
It was. The first live show we did was
at the Ashbury.
Yeah, it was standing room only.
Yeah, was that the Bronies one or was that Otherkin?
That was Bronies at the Ashbury Coffee House in Willow Springs, and I was very sweaty because that's what it says in the description. I'm very sweaty because I had to run to my car because there was also a classic car show in town.
As there is in Willow Springs. They're known for their classic car shows.
Rule 34 was episode 43.
Okay.
I do like that.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. We did, we started out in the episodes I feel like were somewhat tame.
The episode 29 was hentai.
Okay. I remember there was like a mom blogs one, which I feel like that would be interesting to hear what we were saying now because with like Instagram and stuff, that has become like its whole thing. And now they even have research that's come out about like what that has done to some of the kids that were raised in that environment and how bad it is. And there's some like laws that are going to be put in place like to protect those kids like they had to do with like child actors and stuff, and how like some of that money has to be set aside for those kids when they get to be like 18 because they're basically being forced to work to create content for their parents. Stupid.
Give me 1 second because Nina just called and I haven't talked to her in 2 days.
Okay.
Oh God, here we go. Okay.
What do you want to know?
Jack, this is what do you want to know? Hold on. No, just.
I was just joking.
No, say it into the mic.
No.
Yeah, say it into the mic.
I was just messing around.
This is all going on the podcast.
This is all in. We are still recording.
No.
Ask Jack your milk question.
I think I drowned him with milk questions the last time. I was just curious, trying to explain it to my 6-year-old, like, you know, and I didn't have the knowledge that you could provide me. So, you know, wanted to give him the best possible answers from someone that lives it every day.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to answer any milk-related questions that you have.
So, Verse the Net. Yeah, we had that one live show that went really, really well.
Yeah, and then it was all downhill from there live show-wise.
We only did 2, or did we do 3?
I think we did 3. I think we did a second one at the Ashbury because I want to say we did Otherkin, too, as a live show.
Oh, we did. I think.
Yeah. I think we did 2 there.
I think it's like we had a good following for that show, and I'm just so surprised that the second one was so. It was a big room though,
Yeah.
and
I think that show also is changed, and the people that were like running the stuff at the Ashbury changed, and so it was not what it was at its peak.
And our show got real goofball by that point.
We were not like an easily accessible entry for like regular people.
No, like if you were new to listening to Verse the Net and you came in at episode 50, you would be confused.
There's so many inside jokes. Like someone who's listening to this right now probably has no idea what like half of the stuff we've said is.
No, it's like Claude Pickens, the ghost of a prospector, was on a lot. Yeah.
What episode was he create? Oh, probably the ghost episode.
It was the ghost episode.
That would make sense.
I can connect them all. Like Mason the Hitman
was the deep web.
Yeah, it was deep web.
Which was probably the best episode that we did, I think.
Because we were all on the dark web during that episode and found out like you have to click very carefully.
Yeah, Lewis was our guide.
Because he was on it and understood it.
Yeah.
And I was looking at Hitman.
Yeah, Mason, the hitman.
It was a real person on there. Mason,
what was
the
he say? What did he actually say something about how he wouldn't hurt cats?
I believe the phrasing was, "I don't do kids."
Yeah.
I mean, like as a murderer.
Yeah.
I hope so. It was really weird. And it had like pricing info and stuff, and I was just like, "Oh, this is a side of the web I never wanted to see."
Yeah, but then he was like a recurring character that came back so much.
DJ Rebel Rod, which was the Michigan UP's premier
classic rock, but also kind of like AM shock jock. So he did both. He did double duty,
and he was always running the Fog Hat music festival called Slow Ride. And that didn't come out of an episode. That was just, I think I got bored one week.
Did you do the whole episode as that character, or he just like came, because he was in a lot.
Yeah, I did the second live show I did. I said, I'm leaving. I'm done being on this podcast. Like we tried to do a bit that failed.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm done with doing this podcast. And then DJ Rebel Rod came in, and it was just me in a mullet wig.
Yeah.
And then I tried to do the voice for the rest of the episode, and I was just like, all right, here we go. And I couldn't do it anymore. And I look in the crowd. I remember looking in the crowd at the front where our friends Eric and Brandy were sitting, and just the look of disappointment on their face.
That's just how Eric normally looks.
Anytime I've gone up on stage, he's like, yeah, not my thing. I gotta go talk about American Eagles. Hold on.
I think I feel like there was a lot of stuff that we kind of predicted that ended up becoming true.
On that show?
Like the Netflix episode where we talked about streaming, and it was going to become so fractured, then eventually it was going to get put together they were going to create cable, which is happening right now.
Yeah, also, like I said, Bitcoin was just a thing, and we talked about making
How much
rigs.
of a bummer is it that we didn't buy Bitcoin when Lewis told us to?
We talked about buying it and never did.
Because the only thing you could do with it back then was buy drugs or Hitman on the deep web.
That's right. What was that website? Silk Road, because during the deep web episode, we talked about Silk Road, Yeah. And it was like a very 1996 website where it's just like quantity, 3 shrooms, you know? And then you'd meet a guy in an alley or something, or
I think they shipped them to you.
Maybe.
I don't remember. I know in college there was some kid who bought stuff on Silk Road.
That's right.
And he had it like delivered to the dorm.
But now weed's legal, so who cares?
Well, you still have to do that for your shrooms.
Do people still?
Well, it got shut down.
I mean, I know Silk Road got shut down, but I feel so out of touch with youth. But it's like, do they still do shrooms? Is that still a big thing? Or is it just like party drugs?
It's just party drugs and cocaine. Cocaine's really big. So
is it really?
Yeah, it's in the comedy scene again. It's such a bummer.
Oh,
like all the stuff that kind of stopped when we were like over the time when you were still doing stand up. Like I feel like when I started, a lot of people, there was a lot of drinking and a lot of cocaine.
There was a lot of cocaine, yeah.
And then that stopped because people were like dying.
Yeah.
And then that was gone for years, and that was not a big part of the comedy scene, and now it's come back, and it's like, you guys, this is not good, and it seems fun now, but it's not going to be fun very quickly.
Also, your sets are worse when you're on cocaine or drunk.
Yeah.
I mean, we all remember, and I think it's perfectly fine to talk about because he's been on the show and he talks about it on stage, but like when Drufke was at his lowest and really, really hammered on stage, like that was his worst stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was me he was yelling at all the time because we worked at the Comedy Shrine.
That's
and
right.
So he would always be like yelling the announcements at me, and it was like fun, I think, for the show, but it was also like not how like it should be professional.
No, not at all. But I mean, we all drank a lot during that time.
And I stopped.
Yes, you stopped after Cheers Night. I called it Cheers Night because I kept coming up to you with a bottle of beer, saying cheers like every 30 seconds, and then we clink bottles, and you got very annoyed with me at one point.
Yeah. That was all the, I'm sure you talked about this with Jordan, was the Never Knows Best open mic at Richard Garcia's America's Bar and Grill.
We did, because it's the only time that, because we were the whatever clique you want to call it, Prattle Rattle or crap trap.
I was never part of Prattle Rattle, technically.
You were in that weird like.
I was
clique.
around, but I wasn't like part. I was still in college, so I wasn't like part of the group then.
That's right, but yeah, it was. What was it? Richard Garcia's America's Bar and Grill or something like that? What a terrible name for a place.
Yeah, so long and unnecessary. As if Richard Garcia is important enough.
Ben Nation. But like
precursor to Richard Garcia's America's Bar and Grill.
That was a show that was like run by a bunch of us. I mean, I didn't run it, but I felt like I did. And it was just a show, an open mic for us.
Yeah, there was like no one else there.
I remember like there was sometimes random people there and they just leave. And I'm like, it was such a huge open space.
Yeah, it was terrible.
I loved it.
Oh, it was a great open mic. It was fun, but it was not good. We didn't get better at comedy by doing that.
It was an excuse to hang out.
Yeah, and they also had like $2 beers or something, so everybody would just get really drunk.
Back when we all drank.
Yeah.
Because I'm sober for a year now? Over a year?
I'm like...
You're like
10,
yeah.
I think. I stopped when I was 23.
But you were smart about it. You saw...
I was not in a good place. Yeah. So.
And I could never really drink hard because like of epilepsy meds.
Ooh.
And now that I'm on new ones, I can't drink at all. And I'm like, that's fine. I don't want to drink. I can't smoke weed. That's kind of the issue.
Yeah.
So I could just vape on this Juul pen because I'm not supposed to smoke anymore either.
Just takes all the fun out of life. You probably can't do heroin anymore either.
I mean, I did that, but yeah.
You can't.
I can't. Like, I mean, it's like when something isn't available to you, even if you've never done it.
You've never wanted it more.
Man, cocaine's back in the scene.
That would have been a good time for a drop.
Hey, we'll be right back after this message from Beds. We're not sponsored.
I love how we used to do so many fake sponsorships.
Yeah.
And I think it would always make Lewis mad.
I think one time we did hats.com. And that was, we called him Ecstasy Man. It was Joe Motizzi and a sweatband, shirtless, dancing.
Yeah.
And I think he was just holding a hat. It was the whole thing.
Yeah, that was good. But we would do it in the podcast all the time. What was your favorite segment on First the Net?
I mean, it was Jack Baker reads the Wikipedia page.
That was one of my favorites. And then Joe, the aforementioned Ecstasy Man, made us like a intro song for the segment, which was great.
Jack Baker reads a Wikipedia page. That was such a good part of the show because it literally was like we'd intro the show.
Yeah.
We'd briefly talk about the subject, and then you would just read the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, it's such a good exposition dump, you know.
So many people probably just hitting fast forward. You would do a good summary though, but you just had a good voice for reading the Wikipedia page. I don't mean that as an insult.
No, I took it as a compliment. So
if anybody's going to read it, it's going to be Wacky Matt.
And you don't need that. You need someone with a journalism background to get straight to the point. Not like one of your fancy Columbia College journalism background.
I wasn't journalism. It was critical analysis of film and screenwriting.
That's even worse.
I mean, I'm a movie critic, so
yeah,
I'm still doing that.
Yeah.
Just love my movies.
My favorite segment was definitely the erotic fan fiction that came about later, which we would try and make up find erotic fan fiction.
That's right.
About whatever the theme was for that episode. And it only came up like 3 or 4 times. I feel like this was near the end of the show.
This is when we were trying to pack in everything, and I think Lewis was done with the show at that point.
Yeah. But that was a fun one. I remember there was a great one about the founding fathers.
It had to have happened, the start had to have happened at Rule 34. Where everything's...
I think maybe we did fan fiction, a whole episode on it.
Yeah.
Because of Twilight.
That's right. I think that was like
the 50 Shades of Grey thing, because
that's right.
Fan fiction as it started as.
Wait,
turned into 50 Shades of Grey, I think was
fan fiction
was Twilight fan fiction.
Oh, that's right.
And so I think we did a fan fiction episode, and then it turned into erotic. I just remember the Joe Modisi song for that section was like, Jack Baker's erotic fan fiction, gonna make your pants feel some friction.
Joe Modisi, who's now very serious.
A banker, like personal finance.
The rest of us are still doing joke-em-ups for a living.
Yeah.
Hey, that's the end of episode 1 with Jack Baker. Next week, we're talking about his stand-up special. But before you go, I have the intro to Verse the Net that I found on my computer. I don't have the songs about Jack Baker reading the Wikipedia page or erotic fan fiction, but I do have the actual intro for the podcast recorded by Joe Modisi. That's how we're going to go out this week. Please enjoy it. We will see you next week with more Jack Baker.
The world needs the internet. We need people to fight it together. Come on. They're fighting the internet, they're fighting the internet, they're fighting the internet, they're fighting the internet, they're fighting the internet. Verse the net. Matt, Lewis, and Jack. All right.